Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalrim, and today I want to talk a bit about Subtlety rogues and basically the general transition from WoD or any other expansion into Legion. While I did put out some Subtlety rogue videos, I have been watching other people play Subtlety rogue videos, Sense especially, and been checking out on forums just seeing what people think about the new changes. Subtlety is a spec that is going through changes in Legion, and they're very interesting to keep up with and just to see how community reacts to it. Subtlety rogues in Legion have had many different responses. Some responses are very much positive and congratulate the spec on its uniqueness of stealth, how it exemplifies stealth compared to the other specs of rogue, as well as its shadow damage, mobility, and overall ninja-like theme that diversifies the spec from its counterparts, assassination and outlaw. On the flip side of the conversation, people have said the spec is too simple, yet it hits too hard, all the complexity of it is gone, it reminds me of Naruto and it's just everything that's bad about it, as well as some of its spell names are like really hyped up like symbols of death, but it's actually just a replacement for Slice and Dice. Oh, did I mention Slice and Dice is gone in Legion? Some say Subtlety doesn't feel the same like it did before, it no longer feels like a rogue should. Others say the changes are welcomed and create this uniqueness to the spec's theme and makes it a fun experience to play and easier to pick up. But let's stop beating around the bush and let's ask ourselves, is Subtlety Rogue a FACEROLL spec that anyone can pick up in Legion, or is it still a complex spec that it once was? So let's do the video. Hope you guys enjoy. Let's get right to it. The first thing we need to cover are the changes, and this is everything Subtlety have lost in the past. I first want to mention that my experience with Subtlety rogues, as well as rogue in general, have been Pandaria and Warlords of General. I wish I played in Vanilla, I wish I played in TBC, I wish I played in Wrath, let alone Cataclysm, but I will try to work with what I got with Pandaria and Warlords of General, and I'll try to make as good of a fair video as I can with the tools that I'm provided. So with that said, let's get into the video. So, changes. Slice and Dice upkeep, no longer a thing. It has been replaced with a different mechanic, more stealth-centric. But Slice and Dice, whole buff upkeep, gone. Keeping up Rupture on a target is no longer a thing either. Subtlety gets a different dot to work with, but no longer do you need to keep a debuff on your target to deal more damage to them. The mechanic of Find Weakness is gone as well. No longer is Subtlety all about Find Weakness and lining up damage on foes. This is not to say that Subtlety isn't about lining up damage, you still do lineups, it's just the mechanic of Find Weakness and how that functions, that is gone. Subtlety also lost access to Garrote and Gouge, no longer making it the superior spec in terms of CC. Shadow Dance and Stealth still offer Cheap Shot and a modified ambush, that is what you get for Stealth. You also still have a Kidney and a Blind, but that's really as far as your personal CC goes. Subtlety is now all about stealth play. Stealth is no longer a necessity or even a formality before every arena match just to get in stealth, get your bearings. Stealth is now a tool for you to kind of play around with. Stealth is easier accessible now with the short vanishes and a vanish on sprint if you don't take damage. And there's 3 charges of Shadow Dance that last for a short moment but allow you to line up damage when it's most convenient. On top of it, Shadow Dance has a recharge mechanic and you can get those recharges back faster the more finishers you use. The way I like to think of Subtlety right now is Shadow Dance allows you to get access to Stealth, which is your main tool in terms of how to play the spec, but no longer this Shadow Dance, at least I don't consider it a burst mechanic anymore. Now you have a burst cooldown, which is Shadow Blades, and bringing it back from Pandaria generates an extra common point on every single ability that generates a common point, and your abilities deal extra shadow damage. There's a lot of stealth-based talents and PvP talents that help you customize how you want to use stealth. In stealth you can get healing, more damage while in stealth, shorter cooldowns while in stealth, strong opener damage out of stealth, buffing your specific abilities while in stealth, you name it. There's actually a lot of different playstyles you can do just for stealth alone for Subtlety. With the removal of Slice and Dice, no longer do you get the 8 energy every 2 seconds, so now you have a set amount of energy. So now you gotta manage your energy as well as carefully manage your common points. But don't fret, there's some options for Subtlety in terms of managing your common points, whether you apply a buff on yourself where you generate more common points over time, or simply grant other abilities to generate more common points per use. You have a hell of a lot more mobility as Subtlety. Your ambush now moves you behind your target. Ambush has been renamed to Shadow Strike and hits for a moderate amount. Mobility is never a question for a Subtlety as long as you maintain energy. They also replaced your Rupture with Nightblade, which is your way of slowing targets down as well as a strong potent dot. The effect of it is magic, except for the slow stays on your target for a while. The magic effect, which is your damage, can be dispelled, which is a bit weird, but it does hit for a good amount and is a big part of your sustained damage, I would think. So this is a lot to cover. But let me do a quick overview of everything Subtlety is all about in Legion and everything that is lost. So everything that's all about are things that stayed with the spec, as well as some of the new mechanics, and everything that's lost is everything that it no longer has compared to Pandaria or Warlords of Draenor. So this spec is still about hit and run playstyle, and I feel like it's even easier than before to do hit and run playstyle because of the easy access to vanish. So you can hit a target, vanish away, find another good opportunity, hit him again. You still force trinkets and you still play the trinket game for an advantage, and it feels like you're just really rewarded every time you get a trinket out of somebody and then you hit them when they don't have a trinket. I feel like the reward for it might be a bit too high, but that's just my personal opinion. Playing around with common points is still something you do, and there's few more ways of playing around with common points for Subtlety depending on your playstyle. If you're expecting like a long-term game or you're expecting a short-term game, you can change and adjust your talents to depending on the situation. This spec is still all about lining up burst, and with the buffs that you can give yourself to stealth, that means that you have to have Shadow Dance available every time you want to deal any kind of burst, and then you still have a big burst of Shadow Blade, so you can combine that together and still deal decent amount of damage in terms of burst. Stealth has many uses, and I feel like it has way more uses than it's had ever before. Stealth is now as a tool, and it gives you different buffs, it gives you different advantages. Now, stealth doesn't work the same way for Assassination and Outlaw. It simply grants you stealth and whatever capabilities you have, but no longer those other specs don't expand on stealth nearly as much as Subtlety does, so this is a new addition to the game. Mobility is not an issue for this spec. You have Sprint, you have Shadow Step, and you have Shadow Strike, which teleports you right behind the enemy. So mages and hunters kiting you is no longer an issue. There was a bit about energy management for Subtlety because you have like a set amount of energy that you can get. You can't get any kind of like passive buffs that you gotta maintain in order to get you more energy. So you gotta make sure that you have good energy management before you start playing the spec, or you'll find yourself out of energy fairly quickly. So let's talk real quick about all the things Subtlety has lost. One thing you lost is a buff-debuff management, which is Slice and Dice, energy management, and rupture management on target for extra damage, all that out of the game. Second, you no longer need to have really strong, accurate energy management, because I remember how punishing it was in WoD if you had really bad energy pooling issues and you just, every time you Shadow Dance you have 0 energy, you just get punished. I feel like that's not quite the same in Legion. I feel like it's not quite as punishing. And third, in WoD, I feel like lineup CC rotation as a Subtlety, especially in arenas, you have to do it to a T. In Legion, it doesn't feel like you have capability because of loss of Garrote, but also even if you don't line up your burst to, the CC rotation to a T, it doesn't feel quite as punishing because you still deal a lot of moderate damage and can score a kill in a single cheap shot in some cases. So, in conclusion, what would I say, in my personal opinion, how I feel about Subtlety? From what I've been able to gather so far, I would say this. I would say that Subtlety is not as difficult as it was in Warlords of Draenor. Some say that Warlords of Draenor Subtlety is the easiest form of Subtlety, so that should speak for something. The focus has definitely shifted for the spec. I feel like it's a lot more rewarding to the player and a lot more friendly to the player, rather than extremely punishing if you make a misstep, which is one of the fun parts about playing Subtlety, is finally nailing down your rotations without having to like stress your head over it. Oh, I'm gonna miss that. The stealth mechanic is very much fun to play around with. With the spec, you have a lot of forms of easy types of damage and easy times of like falling back away from a fight. Subtlety as a spec is not that energy management heavy. Like, as long as you had good energy management before Legion as a Subtlety rogue player, for the most part you should be fine in Legion and that shouldn't be an issue for you. I feel like Subtlety fills a bunch of roles. I feel like it's great and really friendly to your new player just looking for some fun in BGs, just hitting it big, as well as your seasoned player who's willing to utilize all of its tools that Subtlety has to offer to win arena matches. I feel like there's a lot of depth to Subtlety that can be uncovered by somebody who's a more seasoned Subtlety rogue player than I am, as I'm primarily a common rogue player since Pandaria. I feel like the spec of Subtlety is definitely something more to it than what is on the surface. I feel like somebody who's been playing Subtlety for a while, like a seasoned player, will be able to take some of the PvP talents and utilize them in different ways. I'm pretty sure somebody who has been playing Subtlety will be able to take different class talents and review the artifact weapon traits to such detail to find intricacies and complexities that other players have yet to be able to find, and be able to take the spec to a whole nother level. I feel like there's something more to the spec in terms of common point management, common point generation, and playing around with that, especially in arena-based situation, and I feel like some of the higher rated more experienced Subtlety rogues will be able to find something that we still don't know about Subtlety. They'll be able to discover things that we are yet to discover ourselves. So I feel like there is depth to Subtlety, just I can't see that far deep. I feel like somebody who's been playing Subtlety for a while, since maybe BC, Wrath, even Kata, will be able to see the spec for what it truly is and uncover hidden potential to it. I feel like the spec has a lot of potential. This is the same kind of thing that I'm seeing in the spec as I did in combat back in Pandaria, and if you guys have been following my channel for a while, you would know how passionate I was about combat back in Pandaria. If I wasn't excited about Outlaw, which I'm probably still gonna main, I'd be playing Subtlety, because I feel like there's a lot of potential to the spec and there's a lot more to it than what is seen to the naked eye. And I feel like somebody who is a seasoned player will be able to find these things and show the world, hopefully, in a video or two. But this is what I feel like about Subtlety. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please make sure to let me know what you think about the video in the comments, and let's actually utilize the like-dislike system. Hit like if you think the changes to Subtlety and Legion are good and you're happy with it, and hit dislike if you aren't happy with it, so this way we can gauge kind of where most of the community or where most of the viewers that are watching this video see the spec at. Again, thank you guys for watching. Utilize the dislike and like system to your own whim. My name is Dal, and I'll see you guys in another video.